Welcome back to the workbench. This is a continuation of the Airfix World War I female tank build review and then the weathering powders. Okay, not a bad kit to put together. This is basically the final kit. One thing I did find interesting when I was building this kit has the parts, what I've done with them, for the male as well. So the male version, which is the cannons, here's the mounting for the cannons, go in place of these machine gun or Vickers machine gun mountings here. So that would go here instead. So, the kit, the parts offer you the option of building two versions, the male and female. The instructions, though, only allow you to build the female. Putting it together, I had the majority of this together within, I think it was about 2 hours by the time I finished up the majority of it. Some areas that need to be worked on. Your joins on the machine gun mount areas here. Can you see it? Yeah, you can just see a bit of green putty that I've actually had to use to fill in some joins. The joins on the rest of the model, though, went together without a problem, except for the front here. As you can see, I did massive puttying in there, and I've had to put styrene shims on top up here to fill it in. From the pictures I've seen, this is supposed to be flat across here, so I've done my best to give it a flat profile across the top there. Even with all that work, I'd say probably 3.5 hours to get to here. Now the fiddly part is, I do say it's a fiddly part, this spring mechanism here for the dolly, or the steering mechanism I think they refer to it as, there's actually 5 parts. This part here, you get the major springs, but there's 4 extra springs that you got to glue in the bottom. That's a bit of a problem. And also to mounting this dolly bracket to the bottom of the springs here, see just down there, it is a flimsy joint. From my point of view, I've had trouble doing it. I've got alignment problems. You can probably just see down there some alignment issues. The wheels itself are okay on the dolly. There is some pin marks to fill on the dolly itself. The dolly is probably the worst area that I've seen for issues. You could have made this entire tank without that dolly being put there, left that spring mechanism totally off, just fill 2 holes either side, and you would have had a good kit without all the headaches. Oh, it's not much of a headache. Okay, the tracks are rubber. I think they're rubber or vinyl, one or two. And so I've glued one end down with super glue, wrapped it around and glued the other end down to make it easier to work with. I tried melting the tracks together. There's a joint in there which is a socket and a hole type mechanism. Didn't work, so I went with super glue. And that's about it. This is fairly easy to do, and it's quite a good kit. Mold wise, put together, everything in comparison to a few other kits I've done. If you followed me on the Sea King build, I bitched all through that about how poor it was. This one is the opposite end of the scale. It was quite not bad to put together itself. Okay, so that's the kit put together. I thought about how I'm going to present this. Now the box art shows you that's the way it looks. That's the way it looks if you're after a museum looking tank. Most others have some sort of modifications done to them. Oh, the dolly's gone, or there's a beam mounted onto the tracks using ball and chains, which is used as an anti-ditching mechanism. There's usually rails up here. Other modifications I've seen include a mesh. Actually, I'll show you the drawing that I'm working from. Okay, this is your mail tank, but I've taken the idea of this cover up here, this mesh cover, and apply it to this one. So I quickly bash together, and I do say bash together, a little chicken coop roof here. What was happening here is they, during World War I, they used these to stop grenades being thrown on top of the tank. The idea being that it lands on here and falls off. Some went even further. Some had the extension of the chicken coop roof down onto the gun mechanisms there themselves. Okay, so all this is just bits and pieces of sheet styrene, or stripped styrene, cut 2 different sizes and lengths and glued together. I then used, I think it was 4x4 photo etch from Edward, and really gouged holes in it, stretched it using a file, and super glued it onto that. And now the idea being, she is going to sit here to act as a little roof over top. So I'm going to glue that together, and I'm going to work on, then go to the paint, prime it, paint it, then we'll move on to the weathering. So I'll be back shortly.